Isn't this the Microsoft Redux in terms of bringing a best of breed, a portfolio of applications?
They're not best of breed.
They're functionally acceptable.
Exactly.
I think that the net difference will be that Microsoft did so with a transactional view, a subscription-oriented view, and only that they could lock in. In today's world, the brand is constantly evolving. The point of planks, and another term, if you're able to take a look at Phil's book, he gets into outposts. The ability to say, we'll project a platform as a kernel, you will build upon it, towards your tailoring it to your interests, and then we will expose that for leverage, cross leverage. If you want to build a player wants to build their own community on the platform itself, but we don't have a determinate view of how this is going to work out economically. And I think that's the paradigm shift in this with respect
Adrian,
to this
I just
question.
wanted to comment to Carolyn's question. I think there's some overlap with the best of breed in the Microsoft Office suite, but I think the difference between that and what Sherritt's talking about with Force.com is that you have this vibrant community. You have, correct me if I'm wrong, open APIs.
Right.
So you have people out there that can develop things. If I wanted to develop in Microsoft Office back in the day, and I'm a geek, I spent a lot of time doing development, I can create my own Access database, I can customize the GUI of Excel, but those are kind of standalone apps. I mean, the community at large is maybe just doing it inside versus making an app available, right, for others, correct? Mm-hmm. So I think that the reason Force.com can grow a lot faster, and I don't want to say better, but do things quicker, is that you have how many tens of thousands or millions of people with access to that and the software development kits versus submitting to Microsoft the feature request going, please, for Office version, blah, 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 can you change these annoying ribbons?
Do you think if the same situation had occurred now, when the net is available, I mean, if there was this block, this inability to have the users say, Office is second best, or,
But what was the other choice, I guess? Microsoft could afford not to do that much innovation-wise, right? Because
WordPerfect. A lot of people swore by that.
Okay, but they swore by WordPerfect.
Microsoft had bigger bucks to spend on squelching. So the best of breed didn't necessarily win at that time, but you wonder now if they would have been able to get away with it.
Maybe, but
because there was no rating and ranking.
It
It all had to filter through the editorial community that did the product reviews, and it was
Right.
very much controlled by budget.
Right, but to John's point, things are more social now because, and again, you know more about Force.com than I do, but if something's popular, just like an app with Angry Birds, right? No one could have predicted that was going to be downloaded how many millions of times, but it's Chris Anderson's The Long Tail. If you put enough apps, I have an app in the App Store for my last book, The New Small. Trust me, it's nowhere near downloaded as much as Angry Birds, but if you put enough apps out there, right, in the App Store and Force.com, something is going to become really popular and people will take it in different directions. I think that's a big difference between Microsoft, but I'll defer to Adrian.
Well, I think, Phil, to your point, I think one of the challenges, particularly when you get into the time magnet quadrant, is what happens with customers is we get attention entropy, right? We follow something for a while, we use an app for a while, and then we move off. And so some of the differences that are going on today, a lot of apps are free. So the switching costs, and we have something that works, well, I'm going to go try something else. Angry Birds is now, and then we're going to try something later. This is why when you're in the time magnet quadrant, you'll typically see companies like Disney, Apple, people like that, because they're masters at continuing to capture the attention. And this is one of the things that I think I hear a lot of companies saying, I want to be social, I want to do this. But trying to capture people's attention, especially, if you're a Me Too, if people are already on something and there's inertia, say I'm already on Facebook and you're trying to get me to go on a different platform, a social networking platform, that's a difficult call because people will say, gosh, I'm already here, my friends are here, peers in power. You can see how these things become very sticky. But we lose interest over time, and this is one of the challenges that has to happen when you are the Gang of Four. They're going to have to continue to innovate, and they're on this very fast roll. And this is why, Disney is, I think of them as the epitome of the time magnet. They are so good at just continuing to roll out things that keep our attention. But not every company is good at that, and not every company is roles that way. And so I think one of the things when you're building out these platforms, you really have to ask yourself, do we have the capability in-house to do that? And so I see a lot of companies saying, gosh, we're going to go social. But it takes a lot of investment, and it takes different skill sets than maybe if you're down in the time on autopilot quadrant.
I think it's a cultural thing too. I mean, it's a culture of delighting the user, right? Facebook was not the first social network, right? But their entire focus, no matter what, forget all revenue possible, it's about the end user, and that was their thing. And so their culture was about innovating for that end user experience. Google has got a very, I don't know, call it lucky, fortunate in that the stuff they do around Google Plus, or a lot of the innovation they do, doesn't actually have to generate revenue because they have this huge cash cow that just funds innovation. So they're very fortunate that way. And as long as that cash cow is going, you're going to see great innovation, because I think they like to delight the user too. I think they like to innovate, and they've got the cash to do it. Apple, poster child for delighting the user. So I think it's, and I think that's the difference from many years ago with Microsoft. Are you trying to lock in people so that you're capturing the revenue, or are you really truly interested in delighting the user? It's one of the things that we've tried to do is we do 3 releases a year. I mean, that's for enterprise software is kind of crazy. Sometimes it drives our users crazy because we're literally rolling out new stuff 3 times a year. But our engineers, I don't know, many years ago said, look, we're going to get so innovative, and we're going to roll out such stuff, and we're going to delight the user so much until they cry uncle, because we just want to push this out. Now, you don't have to take it, right? You switch it on and switch it off. So it's actually up to the individual whether they want to use it or not. You could turn off chatter if you want. But the point is to push up as much as possible and keep going after and keep trying to delight the user. That's a cultural thing. And I think, I'm not sure Microsoft necessarily had that, or maybe they did back in the day. But I think that's within every company. You've got to look at that. It's how you're delighting that user. I mean, again, you're selling farm equipment. How are you delighting that guy sitting, mowing crops? What's delighting that user? And that's a game changer to me in terms of a culture shift in companies.
And Sherrick, if I could paraphrase what you said, the difference, what you're talking about is maybe people use Microsoft products because they had to. Now people are using these platforms because they want to.
Right.
I think that's a huge difference.
What's going on is the paradigm shift in terms of the focus. The focus was the enterprise with Microsoft and all these other companies, and the IT right. management structure to be able to provide standardized, serviceable software and platforms so that the companies could run efficiently. The focus has totally shifted
Right.
to the end user.
Well, this is where Adrian and I have had some spirited debates, and there's this notion in the book, and I didn't coin the term, of the prosumer. So it used to be a consumer, used to be in the enterprise. Well, now you're really both. And the new platforms that I talk about in the book are mostly consumer-oriented. I agree with you. And it's a lot easier, I think, if you want to deploy an app over an iPad or a mobile device versus having IT involved in a 6-month procurement process, and everyone has to have IT at their desktop to install something and call help. It is very different, I agree with you.